Close your eyes and unravel sinister secrets, spine-chilling rain stories to terrify your soul. The storm brewed ominously, churning the skies into a charcoal canvas. Emily shivered as she stepped outside, the air saturated with a thick despair. Raindrops splattered against her umbrella, echoing the unsettling laughter that seeped from her neighbors' homes, an echo she tried to ignore. A chill snaked down her spine. Something wasn't right, as if the laughter was a siren call, beckoning her into the shadows. Dread clawed at her, but she brushed it away. Life as a single mother felt heavy enough without the added weight of paranoia. As the evening dragged on at the diner, eerie flickers from Mr. Thompson's house caught her eye. Faced with long shifts and fidgeting children, Emily lost herself in the steady rhythm of coffee cups clinking and the hum of friendly chatter. Yet those flickering lights danced in the back of her mind, twisting her stomach. Mr. Thompson, a once cherished teacher, now trapped behind the blurred expressions of his own windows, gripped her thoughts like a vice. Each tick of the clock felt like a hammer pounding on her skull. "Just shadows," she whispered to herself. But shadows don't whisper back, do they? No, something straddled the thin line between darkness and danger. It was more than a feeling. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. When Emily finally returned home, her heart raced with apprehension. The shadows outside shifted against the rain-smeared glass, a deceptive dance that sent terror coiling in her chest. She told herself it was just the storm. But the whispers grew, twisted with cries from the darkness. "Lily, Max," she called, her voice shaky. Her kids' giggles faded into silence, replaced by an ominous weight that felt alive. Her world, once a safe cocoon, unraveled as the mystery tightened around her. Every night brought new disturbances, strange notes, cryptic messages that chilled her to the bone. We're watching. Who was watching? Each rainstorm felt like a countdown, each drip a tick on a clock winding down. Disturbing images of her neighbors flashed through her mind, faces missing from the neighborhood's history, smiles masked by an unseen presence. As she held her breath, a scream thundered through the storm, belonging to a child. Panic surged through her veins like fire. "Lily! Max!" she screamed, racing towards the door while thunder boomed above. The shadows danced and twisted as she pushed against the wind, trembling hands grabbing her soaked sweater. She had to protect her children. She had to confront whatever evil lurked in the darkness. Emily clutched the doorframe for support. Mr. Thompson stood in his yard, more haunting in the shadows than she'd ever seen. "What have you been hiding?" she shouted, but the wind swallowed her words. The storm raged, lightning illuminating the cold, twisted smile on his lips. Just then, another shriek pierced through the chaos, her child's voice. Heart racing, Emily turned, but the darkness closed in. Terror surged within her. Something twisted and vile loomed just beyond her sight. As she sprinted towards the screams, the rain drummed like a sinister heartbeat behind her. What was waiting in the dark, and would she ever be able to reach her children in time? The air was stifling, thick with the mingled scent of wet earth and fear. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she tore through the front yard, rain lashing against her face like icy needles. Each footfall splashed in puddles that seemed to bubble with unnatural energy, urging her deeper into the night. "Lily! Max!" Her voice cracked, echoing into the suffocating darkness. The trees loomed like giants, their branches clawing at the sky, and shadows slithered around her. The laughter from her neighbors, once soundlessly haunting, transformed into a cacophony of mockery, taunting her as she plunged forward, desperate to find her children. With each lightning flash illuminating the path, time seemed to distort. The world around her warped, revealing glimpses of figures darting between houses. Were they watching her? Were they hiding her kids? The thought sent ice spiraling in her veins. Another scream cut through the darkness, sharp and desperate. It was Lily's voice. "Mommy!" The cry sliced through her, igniting a primal urge to protect, to save. She ran, propelled by a force she couldn't understand. Just as she reached the corner of the block, she skidded to a halt before Thompson's property. The flickering lights now pulsed rhythmically, as if alive. "Stay back," a faint voice hissed from the shadows. It was Max, trembling, but visible only by the glow of those ghastly lights. Emily's breath hitched as she peered closer, her instincts screaming for her to retreat from the encroaching darkness. The shadows twisted, forming shapes that danced grotesquely. The unseen presence enveloped her with an urgency that made her stomach churn. "Where's Lily?" she yelled, fear clawing at her throat. "What have you done to her?" There was no answer, just a pause that stretched on like the hollow night air. Suddenly, a figure stepped into view. It was Mr. Thompson, his eyes glinting with something unholy. "They're safe," he said, voice low, almost soothing. "They're learning the truth about the storm." The storm? What truth? Sweat trickled down Emily's back. She needed to stay focused. "What do you mean? Let them go!" He smiled, a slow, cruel curl of lips that sent a fresh wave of terror through her. "They're one of us now, Emily. You'd understand if you just joined."
"Joined you? I will never be part of whatever sick game you're playing." Her voice trembled, but she stood her ground. The rain drummed around them, almost drowning out the frantic thoughts racing through her mind. Just then, another scream, more forceful this time, pierced through the ambiance of chaos. Emily's heart dropped. "Lily!" She lunged toward Mr. Thompson, but a surge of energy pushed her back, pinning her against the fence. Everything surged, and the lights intensified, swirling like a storm of madness around her. "Let go of me!" She fought against the invisible grip, but it was too strong. Desperation clawed at her lungs as she realized she was being pulled into the same twisted darkness cloaked around Thompson. Thunder cracked, and in that moment of chaos, she saw Lily and Max. They were huddled together at the edge of the yard, wide eyes fixated on her, pleading with silent screams. Then a voice echoed in her mind, slick and sinister. "You've run out of time, Emily. Join us, or lose them forever." At that precise moment, she understood. Whatever this was, it was a fight for her family, a battle against the wickedness that had consumed her home and neighbors. "No!" she shouted, anchoring her will against the darkness. With every ounce of strength, she struggled against the force holding her back. But would it be enough? A flash of lightning illuminated her path, and as the storm raged louder, she saw the silhouettes of her children slip away into the shadows that had claimed their innocence. "Mommy!" they cried, reaching out. The world blurred as Emily made a desperate leap forward, not knowing what lay ahead, but knowing she had to risk everything to save them. And in the corner of her eye, she glimpsed a figure cloaked in darkness, the true architect of this nightmare, waiting with a smile as wide as the tempest swirling above. Would she escape the clutches of the storm, or become another lost soul in the neighborhood's shadow? The weight of the darkness pressed down on Emily like a leaden blanket, stifling her every breath. With a surge of raw adrenaline, she propelled herself forward, arms outstretched, reaching for her children. But just as her fingertips brushed against the edge of their outstretched hands, a violent force slammed into her, throwing her back into the fencing, pain radiating through her body. "Let them go!" she screamed, her voice agonized and desperate. Thunder roared in response, drowning out her pleas, as Mr. Thompson's body radiated an eerie light, filling her with dread. "There's no escape, Emily," he taunted, stepping closer, his smile widening as if tasting her fear. "You can't save them. They belong to the storm now." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her, and the air crackled with energy, a low hum vibrating through her bones. Shadows swirled in an impossible dance, reaching toward her, as if beckoning her to join their dark embrace. Emily's heart raced. She could not allow this nightmare to consume her family. Grim determination surged within her. She fought against the oppressive force trying to pull her into the swirling void. "I won't let you take them. I won't become one of you." As her words echoed, a piercing scream sliced through the air, again from Lily. "Mommy!" The cry was submerged in panic, sending a spike of horror straight through Emily's heart. With a renewed fervor, she glanced back at her children, their faces pale and bewildered. "Just hold on, I'm coming." Torn between hope and despair, she began to claw her way forward, inching closer to that terrible light, desperate to free her kids. Mr. Thompson laughed darkly, as though her struggles amused him. "They're learning the truth about the storm, Emily. It's a transformation, a blessing. Soon, they won't even remember you." The twisted idea lodged in her mind, and it ignited a fresh wave of fury. This was not a transformation, but a theft. She shoved against the intangible force squeezing her, fueled by every bit of love she felt for her children. The shadows crawled closer, a creeping darkness that whispered sweet lies. "Join us. Embrace the storm. Be one with the night." Tremors coursed through her body, but as Emily fought harder, she noticed cracks forming in the shadows, threads of light emerging. Something deep within her began to stir, a flame of resistance born in the heart of her fear. She just had to— "Stay away!" she shouted, gathering her strength like a storm cloud about to burst. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, momentarily weakened by her fervor. In that instant, Emily lunged forward, eyes locked on her children. "Grab my hand!" she yelled, urging Lily and Max to move toward her. But just as they began to step closer, a sinister gust of wind pushed them back, shoving them deeper into the yard's swirling darkness. Their cries reverberated through the air, growing fainter. Emily could feel the despair threatening to seep into her soul. "No!" A fierce roar erupted from her chest, loud enough to shake the atmosphere. "I refuse to lose you!" With one final surge, she thrust herself forward, arms extended, muscles screaming in protest. It felt as if the very world was bucking against her. Just then, the ground cracked beneath her, the pulsing light from Mr. Thompson flaring like a dying star. Emily could see the desperation in her children's eyes, and it steeled her resolve. Her fingers clasped around Lily's hand, but with a sickening pull, shadows snatched at Max, dragging him back beyond her grasp. Emily's heart shattered. "Max!" she screamed. The bond was nearly broken, yet she refused to surrender. In that split second, a chilling realization dawned on her. They were only the first layer of darkness. Something far older and more sinister lurked just beyond the storm, a malevolent spirit waiting for the right moment to unleash itself. Would she be able to reclaim her son before the darkness consumed him? Completely? Or would the storm reveal another layer of terrifying truth, sealing their fate forever? The world around Emily blurred into a cacophony of sound and chaos as she felt the shadows tugging at Max, a relentless grip dragging him further into the smothering darkness. Her heart clung to despair, threatening to shatter in her chest. She could hear his whimpers echoing off the walls of her mind, piercing her with each pained plea. "Mommy, help me!" His voice was swallowed by the night, each scream a dagger of desperation. "Hold on, Nax, I'm coming." But every movement felt like wading through molasses, a syrupy black void, eager to consume her, to drown her voice in its abyss. Rage ignited inside her again. It was now or never. With determination clawed from the depths of her being, she tightened her grip on Lily's hand, pulling her daughter closer. "Stay with me," Emily called, her voice trembling but firm. "You have to fight with me." And there they stood, together against the storm, battling the forces that threatened to tear them apart. The wind howled, but she could see the glimmers of light fighting through the thick shadows. It was almost like hope. They came in strobing bursts, illuminating the fear etched on Lily's face, reflecting off her wide, terrified eyes. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning illuminated Mr. Thompson, his grin now a twisted rictus that dripped with malice. The energy in the air intensified, surging and tangling, both sinister and alluring. "You think you can resist? The storm shows no mercy." He raised a hand, and a wave of darkness pulsed forward, slamming into Emily, throwing her backward once again. Pain coursed through her body, but she couldn't allow it to be the end. She had to push through, for Max, for Lily. She scrambled back on her feet, ignoring the throbbing in her skull. Something shifted within her, a flicker of defiance igniting in her chest. She could feel the winds swirling around her, their chilling whispers urging her to give in. But Emily refused. "I won't be afraid," she shouted, unleashing a flood of power that erupted from her core. The shadows recoiled. She could feel the ground shake beneath her, the pulse of the storm vibrating through her very flesh. Each heartbeat echoed against the spirit's dread, pushing back against their relentless hunger. "Max!" she screamed again, eyes scanning frantically for any sign of him. Her thoughts raced. Would he even be there, or had the shadows already taken him? In the chaos, the mist thickened, thick as tar, obscuring her vision. And suddenly, a laughter rose from within, a terrible hollow sound that echoed against the howling wind. "You still think you can save them? They are mine now, forever." And then she saw it, a glimpse far beyond the swirling mist, a figure, pale like the moon, extending a hand to Max, who was frozen in fear, eyes wide, mouth agape. The air screamed with tension, the chilly wind dragging at him like a torrent. "No!" Emily roared. Adrenaline surged, sharpening her focus. She didn't care about the darkness anymore. She was ready to fight. She lunged toward them with all her might, breaking free from the storm's grasp. "Max, fight it! Come back to me!" In this moment of turmoil, something shifted. The tether connecting her to her son pulsed with light, and for the briefest instant she felt hope, a thread of warmth anchoring them to one another. But as darkness clawed at her heels, a deafening crack split the air. The shadows reformed into something solid and monstrous, towering over them, an embodiment of every fear she had ever faced. What was it, really? It seemed to laugh, mocking her struggle. "Join us, Emily," it whispered, the words curling with sickly sweetness. "Embrace the storm." And in that final moment of reckoning, the shadows surged forward, closing in like an avalanche. Would they stand united against this ancient horror, or would the darkness claim them all, sealing their fate in a storm of despair? Emily felt the shadows pulse like a living thing, echoing with the dark laughter that clawed at her sanity. Even with every ounce of strength fueled by love, a chill seeped into her bones. The monstrous entity loomed closer, a mass of swirling shadow threatening to engulf everything she held dear. "Max!" Her scream sent reverberations through the storm. She strained, searching for him, trying to pierce through the growing gloom. Dark thunderclouds churned above her, swirling violently, and with every flicker of lightning she glimpsed the twisted face of Mr. Thompson emerging from the darkness, eyes glittering with sadistic glee. "You can't save him, Emily. You've already lost. Just let go." "No!" she shouted, resolute. With a defiant thrust, she charged toward the writhing darkness, clutching Lily closer to her chest as if she were a precious flame in the overwhelming night. The being shifted, its edges serrated and jagged, reaching out toward her like skeletal fingers. Emily's breath hitched, but she pressed on, her feet pounding the earth, shaking with every heartbeat of fear that tried to drag her down. The wind shrieked like banshees as the shadows twisted on themselves, choking the air. Emily felt panic ripple through her, but she fought it off, mercilessly shoving it aside. "I won't abandon you, Max!" she cried out, her voice breaking against the thunder's rampage. "Mommy!" His voice was faint, almost a whisper. She could barely hear him over the tumult. The shadows had pulled him deeper, dragging him away, harder, faster. Emily felt the tether between them flickering, like the last flicker of a dying light. There, in a brief moment when the storm parted, she saw him, crumpled on the ground, eyes wide and terrified. The figure beside him, cold and pale, its hand outstretched like a siren beckoning him toward the depths. Time froze. Emily's heart thundered in her chest, a drum of desperation. "No! Max, come
Back! You have to fight!" Suddenly, something in the air shifted again. An overwhelming wave of defeat crashed over her. The shadows lunged, their claws raking toward Lily, and Emily lost her grip. Lily slipped momentarily from her grasp, falling to the ground. In that split second, dread uncoiled inside Emily like a serpent. "Lily!" she screamed, desperation choking her words. The shadows were no longer just dark tendrils. They were living nightmares, their laughter now an orchestra of despair. But Emily gritted her teeth. The storm howled in protest, currents of fear evaporating as something primal awakened within her. A surge of warmth rolled through her, lighting her from inside. "You won't take my children!" she bellowed, unleashing a force, her voice booming like thunder, a counterstrike against the malevolence that sought to snuff out their light. Light engulfed her, pushing against the shadows, and she felt its warmth spread, the light of both her children combined. Lily scrambled up. "Mommy, I'm here!" She reached for Emily, and their fingers brushed. The connection ignited, fueled by the raw power of their bond, transforming the very air around them. The shadows recoiled, hissing in fury as the warmth pressed against them, banishing the heavy grip of fear. Emily sensed the tide shifting, but as the darkness retreated, a sinister whisper darted through the air, brushing against her ears. "This isn't over, Emily. You cannot fight fate." The shadows pulsed violently, reforming into an even more ferocious shape. It towered above, looming with hatred and malignant energy. Emily was exposed, standing tall but vulnerable. In that moment of fleeting triumph, a question loomed. Could their newfound strength overcome the insatiable rage of the shadows? Or was this luminous battle merely a fleeting ember in a night of eternal dread? The storm roared anew, leaving only one final truth hanging ominously in the air. Some darkness never truly dies. It simply waits for the right moment to strike. Emily's heart raced, thundering within her chest as the darkness reshaped itself. The new form was more monstrous than before, a massive silhouette with a gaping maw that seemed to laugh at her resolve. Each jagged edge shimmered with malicious intent, every shadowy limb a promise of despair. "Mommy!" Lily's voice broke through the cacophony, a lifeline that snapped Emily back from the brink of terror. Her daughter stood a few steps behind, eyes brimming with innocent fear, yet resolute. The small girl's spirit felt like a flickering candle in this tempest, and Emily clung to it fiercely. "Stay close, sweetheart," she commanded, eyes fixed on the undulating mass. The darkness writhed, as if savoring the moment. It knew it had the upper hand, that fear played like a maestro within its grasp. Thunder crackled, and for a heartbeat, Emily felt the light within her dim, overshadowed by the horror bearing down on them. "I'll never let you take them," she yelled, summoning every ounce of strength. A tempest swirled around her, wind howling like a tortured spirit. But she was here, and she was alive. "Fate?" She sneered at the darkness as it laughed. "I shape my own fate." The shadows reverberated, hissing like snakes. They swarmed, coiling around her ankles and climbing higher. Emily gasped as the coldness clawed at her skin, but Lily's warm hands squeezed hers, reminding her she wasn't alone. Not now, not ever. "Fight it, Mommy, please!" With a surge drawn from her protective instinct, Emily lifted Lily closer. She could feel their combined essence mixing, a fierce, radiant energy that battled against the encroaching gloom. Instinctively, she began to chant a song from long ago, one her mother used to whisper during storms. It resonated deep within her heart, blending with their light. As the words flowed, the shadows began to shudder violently, responding to her voice. The darkness vibrated, a storm of anguish and rage lashing out. Emily felt the sinister whisper clawing at her mind again, echoing her deepest fears, taunting her with utter hopelessness. A monstrous growl resonated. "You know you cannot win." The shadows lunged once more, sharp claws reaching for Lily. Emily swung her free hand, summoning her love like a shield around them. The warmth surged forth, a protective barrier that brought forth cries of anguish from the shadows. Each unwelcome tendril that touched them recoiled as if burned, and Emily pressed forward, heart pounding with grim determination. "Together!" she screamed, locking eyes with Lily. Their connection blazed, a brilliant light swelling around them, pushing against the dark creature. The shadows writhed angrily, boiling like tar, trying to claw at their bond. But Emily felt an invincible strength rooted in her core. But then, a tremor coursed through the ground, and Emily lost her footing. Darkness surged forward, wrapping around her like a tightening noose. The shadows expanded, swallowing Lily's voice, and in the split second, Emily felt the sweet heat of her daughter's grip slip away. "Lily!" Panic flared. The world around them twisted violently as the storm roared back with renewed intensity. Shadows stretched long and clawed, yawning wider, ready to consume everything in their path. There, for just a moment, she caught sight of Max again, lost and bewildered, darkness wrapping around him like chains. Rage and determination boiled within Emily as the words, "You cannot fight fate," echoed around her. "Watch me," she spat, summoning every ounce of her strength, though deep down, dread clawed at her insides. Was she truly prepared to cross this threshold? Did she have leverage against something so ancient, so fueled by destruction? The air crackled with energy, promises of hope mingling with threats lingering in the shadows. In that dire moment, as thunder boomed loudly overhead, a shocking realization struck Emily and left a bitter taste on her tongue. What if the very force she was fighting against was an inescapable part of her own fate? The shadows laughed, deeper and more sinister than before, knowing the truth hung precariously in the balance, and above the deafening storm, an ominous
Silence fell. Was their bond strong enough to confront a fate so entangled with darkness? Or were they merely bees buzzing futilely as the storm awaited its moment to strike? The silence lingered, heavy and palpable. Emily's breath hitched as the darkness thickened around her, palpable and suffocating. The shrieks of the wind turned into a whispered chant, weaving chilling promises of despair. Her mind raced, a flood of thoughts crashing against the barricade of imminent dread. Lily! The name broke free from her lips, a desperate plea floating through the gathering shadows. The abyss wavered, a grotesque ballet of dread before her. She had to find her daughter. With every ounce of courage, Emily pushed through the writhing mass. Each step felt like wading through treacle. The darkness clung, dragging at her body, trying to claw her spirit away. "Where are you?" she yelled, voice trembling with fear. And then a flicker. A small light broke through the shadows. It blinked out of existence just as quickly, but her heart soared. "Lily!" Emily surged toward where she thought she'd seen it, a fleeting spark of hope in an endless void. But the shadows lashed out, striking at her with invisible claws. She felt the burn against her arms, biting through her strength, freedom withdrawing like a tide. A cold terror coursed through her veins. "Why do you torment me?" she shouted defiantly, daring the darkness to speak. "You tread upon cursed ground," a voice hissed, dripping with venom. Emily strained to see through the darkness, her mind spinning with its cold, cruel laughter. "This is your home now, and you, sweet Emily, are bound to your fate." Panic surged anew. She stumbled backward, visions of Lily flickering in and out of view. Each time, the dark, pulsating shadows sent icy fingers dancing over her skin. With every fractured moment, dread sank deeper. Was it true? Was this all part of a predestined path? Gritting her teeth, Emily shoved the thoughts aside. "No, I will not be shackled," she shouted, summoning memories of love, laughter, and the warmth of her daughter's hugs. Suddenly, she heard a faint whimper, a sound that pierced through the chaotic symphony around her. "Mommy! Lily!" The cry erupted from her, bursting forth with raw energy. She lunged forward blindly, trusting the sound to guide her. "Mommy, where did you go?" The voice trembled with fear. "I'm here! I'm coming!" The darkness roared in response, a furious tempest that pushed back against her like a living entity. Emily's heart raced, each beat a thundering echo lost in the surrounding chaos. She pressed on, surrendering to instinct rather than reason. Then she spotted Lily in the haze, a small figure encased in shadows. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The presence of her daughter, trembling yet holding her small ground, ignited fierce resolve in her. "Hold on, sweetheart," she cried, forcing her way through the consuming black. With each passing moment, the shadows reformed, boiling and churning. And then they sensed their prey inching closer. Whispered threats darted around her ears, darkness swirling and wrapping more tightly, drowning out Lily's cries. "You cannot escape. You belong to us." The shift in the atmosphere wrapped itself around her throat, squeezing tighter. Emily clawed at the shadows, desperation fueling her panic. Get away from her! When she was almost there, the ground beneath her trembled violently. Emily's knees buckled as a monstrous growl erupted from the very depths of the darkness, the voice of her fears manifesting, rising up to claim them. In that agonizing moment, everything felt futile. How could she save her daughter when the shadows had arms that could stop her? Everything threatened to shatter, to dissolve into hopelessness, until a spark ignited within her chest once more. The light, faint yet vibrant, brought her back. Just a sliver of warmth, igniting the embers of a defiant hope. But was it enough? "Lily, I'm fighting for you!" And just then the shadows lurched, offended by Emily's newfound resolve. She felt it, an imminent shift, a parting of darkness. But at what cost? "Mommy, help me!" A cold wind howled around them, and then, in a jarring twist, it all fell silent again. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing against the quiet, reverberating whispers of the encroaching void. Could she break the chains of her own fate, or was she merely spiraling deeper into the very darkness she sought to conquer? The shadows stirred once more, sensing the resurgence of hope. They thrived on fear, and Emily's defiance sparked something they had not anticipated. Something dark was brewing, questioning their very grasp on her soul. But deep down, in the treacherous labyrinth of shadows, a much greater horror awaited. What awaited at the center of this cursed darkness? Could there be a darker secret hidden in the depths, waiting to consume them both? The silence shattered like glass. Emily felt it, an anticipation, a breath held in the very marrow of this dark tableau. The shadows pulsated and shifted, as if breathing, waiting. The once thick air around her now vibrated with an unseen power, oppressive and thick. "Lily!" she screamed again, the name echoing back to her, distorted and ragged, twisted by the very fabric of the darkness. Just when she thought she might collapse, a flicker of that light emerged again, more persistent this time. It blinked into view like a distant star, illuminating the contours of her child's frightened face, now framed in shadows. Hope surged anew, spurring her forward. But as Emily surged toward her daughter, a sing-song voice crooned from behind the veil of black, sultry, possessive. "Where do you think you are going, Emily? The darkness is your ally now. You belong to it." "No!" she yelled defiantly, gritting her teeth against the whispering seduction that oozed around her. She felt claws of despair grip her ankles, seeking to pull her down into the abyss. "Get away from us!" "Run away?" it hissed. "You can't run." "From your own reflection." Each word cut deeper than any blade, striking at her heart. She glanced back at the shadows and suddenly saw flickering images among them. Victims consumed, faces twisted in horror, eyes wide with terror, all bearing a striking resemblance to her own. Emily staggered backward, horrified. Were these the remnants of her past, faces of dreams turned nightmares? The darkness claimed its own, and it wanted her to join its legion of despair. "Mommy, please!" Lily's voice cut through the chaos, small and fragile as a bird's first flight. Emily's instincts roared to life. It was her daughter, the light within the storm. She tore through the oppressive shroud, pushing through with renewed vigor to reach her. "We're together, honey. Just hold on." But as Emily neared, the shadows churned violently, blocking her path. It was as if they were alive, surging and snapping, fueled by malice.
"You cannot have her!" they screeched, their shadows thickening, merging into a wall of ink that pulsated like a beating heart. In that moment, time felt suspended, a taut string pulled to its limits. Emily's heart drummed a chaotic rhythm, and for a second she faltered. Would she be devoured? Would she lose her child to this nightmare of horror? But then she remembered the flicker of light, the warmth of Lily's hand in hers, the laughter in their home before it all turned to this. "It's not over," she shouted, rallying her strength. "I won't let you take her. I refuse. We will fight together." Her voice echoed through the void like a cannon shot, shaking the very foundations of the darkness. The shadows recoiled as if stung, their grip loosening just enough. Emily seized her chance, darting toward Lily, who was now visibly shaking, eyes wide with terror yet illuminated by hope. With a burst of energy, Emily reached out and grabbed her daughter's hand, feeling both the warmth of her small palm and a jolt of raw electricity flow between them. The shadows hissed, fuming. "You think you can escape? You are bound now. Your fate is sealed." But Emily felt something shift within her, a pulse of light that erupted in response to the darkness. "No, we are not defined by our fears," she screamed, heart hammering against her chest. Blinded by determination, she dragged Lily toward the flickering light, a raging hope boiling in her blood. And then it happened. The shadows convulsed violently, shrieking in outrage as the light began to swell, threatening to engulf them both in its brilliance. Emily could feel the grasp of the darkness weakening, the cold retreating like a tide. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Lily's voice trembled, a soft plea laced with fear. "Stay close! Keep your eyes on me!" Emily shouted back, her heart racing. But she could sense it, the anger of the shadows rising, a storm brewing beneath their feet. It wasn't over. In the corner of her vision, she noticed a figure emerging from the depths, cloaked in despair. A silhouette with eyes glinting and grinning, an echo of madness. "You can never leave me, Emily. Together we shall feast on your dreams." As the light surged, the figure lunged toward them, arms outstretched, and Emily felt a scream building in her throat, a scream that could tear the very fabric of this horror apart. What lay beyond the veil of light? Was it salvation or a deeper dive into madness? Would they break free, or were they sliding into a fate darker than the shadows that sought to consume them? The light crashed over them like a tidal wave, bright and blinding, yet it did nothing to drown out the darkness behind. Emily squeezed Lily's hand tighter, feeling the warmth turn cold, a shocking counterpoint to the light enveloping them. The darkness didn't retreat. Instead, it roiled and snapped, clawing at the edges of the brightness, fighting to reclaim what it believed was rightfully its. "Keep going," Emily cried, her own voice strained and raw, barely carrying above the shrieking fury of the shadows. The ground beneath them shifted like quicksand, every step a battle against the pull of despair that sought to drag them down. Lily faltered, her small body trembling. "Mommy, I can't." "Yes, you can. Just a little further." Emily fought for strength she wasn't sure she had. The shadows shrieked louder, each scream a sliver of ice that twisted around her spine. The figure loomed, features now clearer, a sinister mockery of herself, a twisted reflection filled with contempt and crazed delight. "You think light can save you from what you are?" "No!" she barked back, rage fueling her. But doubt crept in, slick and oily, sliding into her mind. Could she trust the light? Was it any safer than the creeping darkness? Lily stumbled, pulling Emily's focus back to her daughter, who gazed wide-eyed,
fear plastered across her tiny face. "Stay with me, honey. Just hold on. We can do this together." But the figure's laughter echoed, a cruel, mocking sound that pierced the air. "Together? Ha! You don't even know what you are facing. This light, it is a curse, illuminating your sins, your failures. You think you can outrun your past?" Emily felt the breath hitch in her throat. Memories rushed back, visions of regret and loss, moments when she should have been there, choices that twisted into the shadows themselves. For every flicker of the past that emerged, she felt the grip of despair tightening, an iron vice squeezing her chest. "Don't listen to it," she yelled, fighting against the tide of helplessness. "It's lying. It wants us to think we're trapped." She pulled on Lily, their path forward illuminating in flickering golden bursts as the shadows recoiled from them like a vampire from sunlight. With every step, the darkness hissed, writhing and fuming, desperate to snuff out the light they carried. "I can't breathe," Lily cried, and Emily felt the weight of despair crashing down upon her, a leaden blanket of
dread that threatened to engulf them both. "Just keep holding my hand. We're almost there." Emily's voice faltered, but steadied with fierce will. The light flickered again, pushing the shadows back, but not for long. The figure stood mocking, a puppet master in this monstrous ballet, a grin stretched too wide across its face. "You think you can win. The darkness is everywhere. It's who you are." "No!" yelled Emily, fear boiling into fury. In that instant, she realized. The light pulsing around them was more than a mere refuge. It was the power to confront the darkness inside her. Summoning every shred of courage she had left, she turned to the figure, now nearing. "You don't own me. I refuse to be defined by you." The shadows recoiled, screeching in a cacophony of rage. The figure staggered, eyes widening in disbelief, and Emily surged forward, pulling Lily with merciless determination. But just as the wall of shadows broke and the light surged with brilliant intensity, another voice joined the fray, low and guttural. "You think you can escape? You're too late." As the darkness billowed, a new shape twisted into view, large and grotesque, eyes glinting with malicious delight. Emily's stomach dropped. There was more. The flickering light dimmed for a brief moment, and Emily's heart hammered violently. The light was momentarily eclipsed by a greater dread. "Mommy, run!" Lily screamed, the sound breaking Emily's heart. Would they escape this terror only to face a deeper nightmare? What horror awaited them on the other side of this desperate flight? As the shadows stretched and twisted, the ground crackled beneath them, threatening to pull them into the abyss once more. Emily had to act now, or risk losing everything. Emily's heart raced as the grotesque figure loomed closer, a shadowy manifestation with unholy eyes filled with malevolence. She could feel the darkness tightening its grip, threatening to swallow them whole. Struggling to stay focused, she wrapped her hands around Lily's, grounding herself in the warmth of her daughter. "We can't give in, not now," she shouted, her voice strained but determined. The grotesque being opened its mouth wider, an abyss of despair that seemed to echo in the air. "You cannot fight who you truly are, Emily," it taunted, its words curling like smoke around her mind. "You belong to the shadows." No, she refused to believe that. The whispers of doubt echoed, but she pushed them down. The memories of laughter, family dinners, and the joy of simple moments surged back, igniting a defiant flame within her. "Stay close, Lily. We can break through." She pulled her daughter nearer, charging head first into the swirling mass before them. As they plunged into the darkness, the storm erupted, rain pelting like arrows, wind howling with ferocity. It felt as if the very world conspiring against them, yet Emily fought harder. They were not so easily consumed. "Fight it, Mommy!" Lily cried, her small voice unwavering. That courage sparked a fire in
Emily's chest. "You're right! We're stronger together!" With renewed conviction, Emily remembered the song from her childhood, a lullaby filled with light. She began to sing, her voice soaring against the clamor of shadows, each note a beacon pushing back against the darkness. The shadows writhed, recoiling as if in pain, the laughter morphing into furious shrieks of frustration. "Keep singing, Lily," she urged, feeling the warmth of her daughter's spirit match her own. They began to harmonize, their voices melding into a powerful symphony of light that surged around them, a sacred barrier against despair. The figure shrieked, contorting in agony as the combined force of their song pressed forward. "No! You'll regret this!" Emily's heart raced. They were closing in on something, a wise energy, the very essence of love and strength. With each note, they broke the confines of that smothering darkness, inch by inch, pushing through the sheer weight of fear. And suddenly, a blaring flash ignited the air, ripping through the shadows like a firestorm. Emily gasped, the brightness enveloping them, wrapping them in warmth and resilience. The fiendish figure reeled back, hissing like a vapor. The darkness clinging to it started to fray and fall away. "Together, we can do this!" she shouted as she took Lily's hand, bolstered by their united strength. With one final burst of their voices, the shadows recoiled, splintering apart, and Emily felt a rush of freedom wash over her. The winds whipped with fury, pushing against the retreating shadows. "Go!" Lily shouted, pulling her with urgency. "We have to go now!" Emily plunged forward, breaking free from the tightening grip of darkness, sprinting with Lily toward the flickering light. She felt the coldness of despair slipping away with each step as the light glimmered in the distance. They burst through the last remnants of shadow into a surreal realm illuminated in a golden glow, a sanctuary away from the storm, the dismal whispers fading behind them. Breathing hard, Emily dropped to her knees, pulling Lily into a tight embrace, relief flooding her veins like warm sunshine after a relentless storm. The world felt impossibly serene. The chaos and shadows receded into the distance, lost to the roaring winds that rumbled weaker, turning into gentle whispers that told tales of healing. "Are we free?" Lily's voice trembled with the remnants of fear, but sparkled with uncertainty. "For now," Emily replied, hugging her tightly. "But we'll stay strong. We must remember that the light comes from within us." "Together?" Lily asked, eyes wide with fragile hope. "Always," Emily promised, feeling the bond wrapped tightly around them, a shield against any encroaching darkness. As they sat, the waves of the storm subsided, and the air turned still. They had faced the shadow, danced with despair, and emerged on the other side together. The storm may be gone for now, but Emily knew that the remnants of darkness lingered in the corners of their lives. Yet the strength they found in each other and that tiny flicker of hope assured her they could face anything that came their way. "Mommy," Lily ventured softly, peering into the endless horizon filled with vibrant colors, "will we ever have to fight the storm again?" Emily's heart swelled with pride. She kissed her daughter's forehead gently. "As long as we remember this moment, we will always find our way back to the light no matter how dark it gets." And with that, Emily and Lily embraced the dawn of the new day, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand, a bond unbreakable and a spirit ignited. If you're feeling the thrill of this journey, you need to subscribe now. Hit that button immediately to catch all exclusive stories. Don't miss out. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let others share in this electrifying saga. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this hair-raising conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this closure. Let's spread the light together.